Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for joining today. My name is Julie Anderson and I work at Robert Gordon University, and I'm here just now. I am joining you to talk you through a little bit about the university and just show you some pictures really to give you a feel for what the campus is like and what we stand for. So any questions, as Jean has already mentioned, really happy to answer those as we go through or at the end if you just want to add them into the chat box. So on the screen there, you can see a picture of our campus, and you can see that behind me as well. That's the sort of a further away view of the one site campus that we're on. So the campus is all based along the side of the River Dee, and it's around 30 minutes by bus outside the city centre. So it is a one site campus, which many students really enjoy because it's really nice and easy to access. It's also in a lovely green space, so really conducive for studies as well. So just to give you an idea of where we are geographically, because I know that's not always well known, Aberdeen is in the northeast of Scotland, as you can see there. So it's around an hour and 10 minutes on a flight from London. So if I was going to fly to Kenya, for example, I would probably connect either through Frankfurt in Germany, Paris, the Netherlands, so Amsterdam Airport, London, or several different options to connect for a flight over there. It is an international airport, so we do have those connections, but just to give you an idea that it would be, generally speaking, 2 flights. You can go in and out of Edinburgh as well. We're about sort of 2 hours on the train from Edinburgh to kind of give you an understanding of whereabouts we are. Aberdeen in the northeast is really well known for the oil and gas, or as it is now, renewable energies, and we are forefront in that area, have been since the 1970s. Therefore, all the European headquarters for those massive oil and gas companies and renewable exploration are all based in Aberdeen. So for that reason, it has a really multicultural population, as well as the 2 universities that are based in Aberdeen. So there's Robert Gordon University, and there's also Aberdeen University, which you may have heard of as well. So if you add all those international students plus all the people that are over there working, it makes for a really cool and different vibe in this city. So lots of international events, lots of sort of food exhibitions in particular. I think food is the main thing. So you will experience lots of different cultural things when you come, and hopefully that feeling of real inclusivity and international experience when you're here. So just to kind of give you some pictures, because I think that helps kind of get a feel for what a place looks like. At the bottom, sorry, at the far side of the screen there, that's the River Dee. That's just behind the campus there. There's 2 people paddleboarding. I've recently taken up this hobby, paddleboarding. I'm not going to lie, I always wear a wetsuit. I'm not that brave, and the water is cold. But it is very, very beautiful, particularly going down the river next to the campus there. Aberdeen and Scotland in general is well known for our sort of history and our castles. So I've added in a picture there of Craigiebar Castle because it's my favourite because it's pink. Aberdeenshire in particular has a vast array of castles that you can visit. So if you're interested in that kind of culture and history, then you will be spoiled for choice if you join us in Aberdeen. The city centre in Aberdeen is mostly built out of granite, which is, we used to have the largest quarry or man-made quarry in Europe. I think we've been surpassed now, but it means that all of our buildings are built out of this kind of shiny grey stone. So in the sunshine, all the buildings kind of twinkle, and that Marshall College is a good example of that architecture. It makes the feel of the city very different than other cities that you might visit in the UK, which are usually red brick. So that's something a little bit different about Aberdeen. It's also a coastal university, so we are on the beach. There's pictures there of Haven Harbour, which is probably my favourite, and just about 15 minutes from our campus. And then there's Aberdeen Beach there. So I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of the students that come from warmer climates than we have in the UK are always shocked by the difference in temperature. Aberdeen is no different than the rest of the UK. We have 4 seasons a year, so the summers are warmer. The spring is very beautiful, but cold. So we have sort of maybe around sort of 10, 12 degrees at the moment, and bright sunshine. So that's my favorite kind of weather. It is something that it will be difficult to get used to, so I want to be honest about that. And in the winter, usually around January, early February, we often get snow in Aberdeen as well, which is really great to experience if you haven't seen it before. The beaches are beautiful and great for walking on. Lots of people swim and surf and paddleboard. As I mentioned, I do that more or less year round, but always with a wetsuit. Not everybody does. Some people are braver than me. So the beaches are there to utilise, but the weather is a stumbling block. And then at the far side, there's the street art. So Aberdeen is known for new art as well, which is kind of art on some of the buildings in and around the city. So it's a really cool walking tour that you can do. It's all free, that you can do on an app actually, and understand all the different types of art that has been produced in and around the city. There's lots of different cultural events that happen in Aberdeen, and often these are free, such as the art gallery and the museums and so on. So if you want to learn more about Scottish culture or different events or exhibits that are happening, then that is a great thing for students, that they can visit those things for free. And this is a little video. I'm not sure if you're going to get the sound, so it might not be worth playing. I'll just start it and see. It's only music in the background, so not essential that you can hear it. But it's a quick video that we have made, which promotes kind of what the undergraduate students do in and around the city. So some of their fun activities. It's only a couple of minutes. I'll play that anyway, but just so that you know, it should just be music that's playing in the background. Okay, so that was just a quick kind of visual tour around the city to give you an idea of what that looks like. Hopefully that's helpful. I just need to come out of this now, I think. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Okay, so to move back on to why RGU and go a little bit more into the courses and the university itself. Again, this is another view of the campus. So it's a modern university, which means it was established as a university after 1992. But we do have a rich history. Robert Gordon himself was a merchant seaman that was based or lived in Aberdeen, from Aberdeen, and invested in the education of children to begin with, that became a college and then latterly a university. So we have long roots, but a sort of young life as a university. The reason a lot of the buildings are very modern, this one in particular, you can see the green tower behind you is the Grey Tower, so really beautiful view studying up there. The campus has all been modern, designed by a modern architect that has quite a lot of influence in the London skyline. So you'll recognise his work in buildings such as the Gherkin shaped building in London. So it is a very beautiful campus. I know I'm biased, but you won't be disappointed when you come and you see it for yourselves. It also means all the equipment that we have is state of the art and is renewed every 3 years in terms of IT equipment. So students really are getting the chance to use state of the art and up to date equipment, what they would expect to see when they go into the world of work. One of the main things that we talk about with RGU, there's so many rankings and so many different points of reference that you can look at when you're choosing a university. What I would say with us is that we are consistently high with our graduate employability. The last decade, we have remained top of the leaderboard against other universities in all the main rankings, The Guardian, The Times, Sunday Times, etc. So I would encourage you to have a look at that. And I think the reason for that is, as I said, on our campus, we have a lot of modern equipment. So when it comes to the lab facilities, for example, the students from undergraduate all the way up will have access to this equipment, where in other universities that would typically only be open to postgraduate or PhD level students. And we also want students to have practical experience. So you can see in the top left-hand corner there, those are students that are building, I think they're go-karts out the ones for the School of Engineering, and they race against each other. So constantly trying to bring the projects to life and not just do things from a textbook point of view. Students are very hands-on and have the chance to use equipment they would expect to see when they go into the world of work. The idea that is that students are on a journey when they're with us, and when they complete their course, they should be able to walk into a job and not have too much of a learning curve in order to get going. A lot of the employers come to us to look for our graduates for that very reason, and most of our courses will have some sort of placement or internship within it to give students that live experience. If it's a master's, it's usually a short sort of 4-week placement or capstone project where you can work on live projects and have that interaction with industry, just to have a little bit of a taste of what it's like to work on real life pitches or experience of working with businesses. So I think that's why we have remained so successful in our employability rates, and it's something that we take very seriously. So in terms of accreditations and so on, the university will always go after industry accreditations and any industry bodies that will help you in your future career. So have a look at the web pages of the courses that you're interested in. Things like the human resource management, you would see the CIPD. So we often have exemptions for students that have studied our course if they study with us, because we have built the course in line with the requirements of these professional bodies. So it gives students that extra edge if they're studying with us when they go into the world of work, or just for your CV at the end of it. In addition, we have a really good resource called the RGU eHub, which is great for students that are starting with us. You can use this as a means to find part-time jobs, to look for careers when you're finished, if you want to stay in the UK or Aberdeen even, or if you want to return home as well. It has international opportunities as well. There is also their resources to help you with your CV writing and to help you with interview preparation, and all of these kind of graduate skills that students may need. So that's a really good resource. And for students that do come to RGU, I would encourage you to use that almost from the moment you arrive, not to wait the last month you're there. But it is open to alumni as well. So some of our students that have left and done various other things can come back to that and use it as and when they need it for other opportunities. So here are some of the professional accreditations that I alluded to earlier. Some of them you may see as familiar. Some of the company logos, such as Shell and BP, are just companies that we work with in order to do projects for students to give them that experience whilst they're studying with us, to do placements and so on. NHS is a big taker of our placement students as well, particularly in the healthcare profession. But you'll see things like Reba and Cisco and so on. These are all external bodies that have verified our teaching and our courses to make sure additional confidence when they're coming to study with us. Okay, so I've mentioned already a couple of these accolades, but this is maybe the top ones to keep in your mind. In 2021, we were the Scottish University of the Year for the Times and the Sunday Times. So that is something we're very proud of. As I mentioned before, the graduate employability, we've remained top ranking university there, and currently with the QS, we're the first in Scotland and the second in the UK for graduate employability rate. So when you think of a university that has 16,000 students in it in total, it's a reasonable sized university, but certainly not in comparison to some of the much, much larger English universities. So for us to be the second in the UK against Oxford and Cambridge even, that is really something that is quite an accolade. Another thing that I would encourage students to do, or I usually do, is the NSS, which is the National Student Survey. That independently asks all of our international students how they find their experience of studying with us, access to lecturers, the classrooms, the teaching, the environment, the accommodation, all these different areas students get the chance to rank and to comment on, and then that details are all collated, and we've come out as the top modern university in Scotland in that the last NSS that went out. So again, some really great things that came out of there. Another thing that came out strongly was the sense of community the students feel when they're here. So they might have friends that are at another university, which I won't name names, but larger universities where they feel like they're just a number. At RGU, we encourage, our student staff ratio is very well protected, and we encourage students to have access to their lecturers for any extra support they may need. And they always find that quite mind-blowing that they can go and see their lecturers or go and ask additional questions as and when they want to, really. So we recruit students from around 132 countries, and as I mentioned, we have around 16,000 students, including students that are studying online. So quite an average-sized university. We spent around £120 million on our state-of-the-art Riverside campus. So as I said, you will find some really cool things on this campus that you may not see on campuses in the rest of the UK. We have a real commitment to health and well-being at the moment. So the gym that is available on campus as well, on site, is free for all students to use. So it's not compulsory. A student asked me that once, which I think is brilliant. But it is there for you to use should you choose to. It has everything from climbing walls to an Olympic-sized swimming pool to badminton, tennis courts, football pitches, you name it. It's all there, and it's all on the campus. So a great resource if you just want to go and do a Pilates class in between your other classes, just to have a little bit of a chill out. That's a lovely free resource to have for students. So we have around 300 courses at the university in areas like law, energy, engineering, architecture, all those kind of areas, the health and social care side of things, everything from art, fashion, event tourism, communication, management, accounting, and so on. It's easy to search for the courses on our website. You can just go on and either search for the word you're looking for, or you can search by the school, or by undergraduate and postgraduate, or subject. So that's nice and easy if you want to have a little look. In terms of entry points, SI UK will be able to help you in more detail when you speak to them if you're looking to submit an application to us. But generally speaking, just so that it's clear, in undergraduate, we have a 4-year undergraduate programme in Scotland. And therefore, students that have the equivalent to an HND, like a college diploma, usually access the 3rd year of an undergraduate course. I know some students that have work experience might go through the pre-master's route as well, so that's another option. And then for the master's courses, with the exception of 2, which I think are physio and social work, our master's courses are all 1 year long, which is a full 12 months. So students can either begin with us in January or in September. The January courses tend to be slightly longer, as some of the courses will have a summer break. The training courses don't, they're still 12 months, but the rest of the master's courses would be closer to because of a short break in the summer for a couple of months. The good thing about the January start is, although you are paying extra living costs, you are allowed to work more than the 20 hours a week during the summer break, because you're outside of term time, so you can potentially earn a little bit more money to sustain yourself for that little short break in between studies. Whereas students that are coming on a 1-year master's are restricted to working 20 hours a week during term time if you wanted to have a part-time job. Okay, so the undergraduate courses I'll quickly sort of bypass, because I think this is purely for postgraduate students today. So we have a kind of a one view, if you like. Again, SI UK can share this with you, which has all of our courses and the international fee. There's also an online fee for some of the courses for students that want to study remotely. So on average, the fees are around £14,000 because we offer an automatic discount for students that are coming. but you can have a look and see all the different areas that we have here. So scholarships we have for undergraduate students, it's £3,000 automatic discount off the first year of studies. For postgraduate students, that's £2,000 off the course fee, if you like. So it's £2,000 off the advertised course fee. We do work with other scholarships as well, so Chevening and Commonwealth and other scholarships such as that. And so I would encourage you to have a look at our website for further opportunities around scholarships. For the application process, we have an online application system. I would encourage you to apply through our partner SI UK as our official agent. They can help you with the full process all the way through from the application right through to visa and accommodation and so on. So we keep our agents up to date in all the different countries that we work in and all the different areas. We go through lots of training and so on with them, so they are well versed in everything to do with RGU. So I would encourage you genuinely, as the best course of action, your application will be dealt with very well through SI UK. Go through that route there. So the only thing to sort of talk about in terms of application, if you do speak to SI UK, they're going to ask you to submit your transcripts and a copy of your CV if you have one, or if it's pertinent to your course. That is also relevant if you have had a study gap of 5 years or more. We do ask students just to provide a detailed CV. Otherwise, we will ask you for sort of details what you've been doing since the last time you were studying. Let's say you finished studying sort of 6 years ago, but you've then gone on to work in a particular area and to progress your career, you want to get a master's in that area. That absolutely makes sense, and that's fine. We just want to sort of understand your journey a little bit more. So usually a detailed CV will help with that. Otherwise, you may find that you get another question as part of your application process. Proof of English language, which I'll come on to in just a moment. Obviously, a copy of your passport. You need to have 6 months validity on your passport from the day the course begins. So from September, you'll need to have at least 6 months left on your passport. If you are being sponsored, we need to see the letter of sponsor as well in order to push through the CAS and visa process. And the last area to sort of talk about is the statement of purpose. So we don't interview all the students that come to RGU, but we do have this additional hurdle which everybody finds frustrating, which is the statement of purpose. I just say to students, it's sort of 4 quite clear questions. Just take a little bit of time to answer those questions, and you'll get through the system really quickly. So we ask students, oh, I thought I had it detailed there. Sorry, we ask students basically to share with us, why you've chosen this course, what you hope your future career path will be, and also why you've chosen to study with RGU. And all of those are just ways in which we can just make sure that you're prepared. So if at any point you were pulled for a random UKVI interview or question when you're going through the process at the visa stage, you won't have any issues. So it's really with you in mind that we ask you just to make sure you've thought about these questions so that when you get to that stage, you're completely prepared. So again, I'm sure SI UK have a lot of experience working with lots of institutions on these areas. All of us are a little bit different. For RGU, it's a statement of purpose. It's part of the application, and it's just 4 clear questions that has to be about RGU. It can't be a generic answer. Okay, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier about English language, we do take the Kenyan Certificate of Secondary Education, so grade C or better. If you have that in English as a subject, then you are exempt from doing any further English language tests. There is no restriction on when you studied that, so if you studied it 10 years ago, that's okay. It's still valid, that you can provide that as part of your English exemption. If you do not have access to that, then we would look for an IELTS, which would be 6.5 for postgraduate, with no less than 6 in each of the bands. We also have a full list of all of the English exemptions that we can accept if you studied in another country, or if you studied in the UK, for example. You can have a look through that list on our website, which is there /English, and it will give you all of those details. If you don't have any of those, then we also have our own English language test, which we can do remotely. So you could do that at the SI UK offices, for example. I'm sure they'll be able to support you if you needed that. And that is an RDU English test that can be done online. Okay, sorry, yeah, this is what I was looking for earlier. So our statement of purpose, we're just looking for students to be original, talk about themselves and their own experiences and why they've made the choices that they have. So I think I've kind of mentioned that already. Nearly there. From an entry requirement point of view, I've kind of talked a little bit about that already. So students that have that HND or college diploma, we would look at advanced entry into undergraduate. Failing that, it probably would be through a pre-master's route. Likewise, students that have a third class degree would generally be through a pre-master's route. There are a few exceptions if you have significant work experience. Otherwise, that is the option. Generally speaking, for postgraduate students, we are looking for a 2.2 or better at your bachelor's degree. Some of the degrees are looking for certain backgrounds. Many of our postgraduates in the School of Business certainly are conversion masters. So we're taking students from any background who want to convert into one of the business subjects. Likewise, the creative and cultural business are also conversion masters. So students have the chance to change their path if they want to move into one of the creative business areas. Within computing, we have one of the courses, which is also a conversion master's. Again, not looking for students to have a computing background, but someone that wants to do a kind of start to finish understanding. I think it's the course is called Information Technology. So if you want to sort of move into the area of computing, we have one conversion master's in that area as well. Okay, in terms of the fees, because I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions, I haven't seen them yet, but the payment is always something that I'm asked, so I thought I would add this in. We have two options. We ask students to pay 34% of their tuition fees as their deposit in advance. So let's say, for example, you pay that in June because the deadline to pay that is the first week of July, so it's fast approaching already. We've worked back from the date of the course beginning, which is the 11th of September, to roughly how long it takes to get your bank statements ready for your visa and how long the visa processing and so on can take. So that's why we've advised students that the deadline is the first week of July. So let's say, for example, you pay a 34% deposit in June. Then you won't be asked to pay anything at the point of enrolment because students are finding that quite stressful when they didn't have a UK bank account yet and things like that. So nothing to pay at enrolment. The next instalment wouldn't be needed until November, and then again in January the following year. So you do have a few sort of spaced payment options. Another option is to pay in 2 installments. So some students prefer that, just they've got longer gaps. You would pay the first 50% again prior to receiving your CAS in June, and the second 50% not required until the first week of February. So a good chunk of time until the next payment is needed. So once we have the deposit, then you move into the CAS process. Again, SI UK would be able to guide you through that. We will ask to see copies of bank statements and so on, where you have to have let them mature for 28 days. And then you can move into getting your CAS number, which then lets you apply for your visa. Every year, students at enrolment are always saying to me, oh gosh, I wish I'd done this earlier. I wish I'd given myself more time. I understand, especially at postgraduate level, you might be trying to work to the very last day you can, trying to get all the money you can together, etc., etc. But I would really encourage you to get that visa process as soon as you can. We started releasing our CASs a month ago, so we're already well underway. Students that can arrive early have more choice of accommodation, particularly if they're coming with dependents. And they also have more chance to settle in and acclimatise and just get themselves comfortable and settled and calm before they begin the course. They get the chance to meet other international students and attend some of the events. So they really do get that advantage if they've managed to arrive early versus students that have come, at the beginning of the course with no time to fair, or even a couple of days into the course, which can happen, but we can be quite strict on these days. So I would encourage you to be as organised as you possibly can. And again, SIUK can guide you through all of that. In terms of accommodation, I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit past my 30 minutes, but I've only got a couple of slides left. In terms of accommodation, we have an accommodation team that can help you choose your accommodation. They are not biased to accommodation that the university own versus private accommodation, because they're not for profit, so they're not financially driven either way. So they will speak to the students about what they need, what they're looking for, what their budget is, and advise them very honestly and clearly about what options there are. So these are our accommodation that we own. Woman Hill, which is in the city centre, is probably the cheapest, comes in around £98 a week. And that is basically individual bedrooms in an apartment with 6 bedrooms and a shared kitchen living facility there that you can see in the picture, and 2 shared bathrooms in the apartment as well. All of the bedrooms are individual, there is no shared bedrooms. Also Crathley Village, which is a little bit more expensive, and that one is en-suite accommodation, so that's close to the campus, a walking distance, got free parking, and it's quite new actually, it was only built a few years ago. And that comes in around £125 a week. And then Garthy Towers, which is on campus. It's a small property there, and usually it's postgraduate or mostly research students, if I'm honest, that use that because it's very quiet. So if you were looking to do part-time jobs and so on, you would have to go into town to do that. So students that are looking for more variety around them tend to not live on the campus, but maybe near or a short bus ride away. So there is a bus there's 2 buses actually that loop from the city centre to the campus. And as I said, it takes about 30 minutes with all the stops. So it's really easy to get back and forth from accommodation to campus. And students that, as I said, that want to work part-time generally do that, so they can have the option for more part-time jobs there. There is also private accommodation available, and I'm going to come out of that because that's going to play a video. There is also private accommodation available, so private en-suite accommodation through companies like Unite. And if you are coming with a friend or partner that you're going to be sharing accommodation with, or even dependents, then you would need to book private accommodation because there is no student family accommodation. Again, the accommodation team can help you with links to different letting agents, and you can have a look at what's available, but you do need to be here in Aberdeen in order to pay your deposit and confirm your accommodation. So again, just something else that you would need to be mindful of when you get to that stage. So that's maybe too much detail for this point. I have another short video, but I think unfortunately, if you can't hear the sound, did you manage to hear the sound in the last video? Can you tell me?
No, unfortunately not. It was all on mute.
Okay, I'm not going to play the next video then, because if you can't hear her speaking, it's not relevant. That was Juni, who is a student. She's actually from Lagos in Nigeria, so not Kenyan, but I've made a nice video of her in and around Aberdeen, and she just kind of talks about her experience. So that's a shame, but I can maybe share that separately with SIUK if anyone would like to see it. So that is everything that I had to sort of show you and talk to you about with regards to RGU. I'm happy to go through your questions now. Let me have a quick look in the chat. It might be easier if I just read these and go through them.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. What percentage?
Can you take us through the questions? Or if absolutely, I'm right here. I can. Julie?
Yeah, sorry.
Julie, let Henry take you through the questions.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'll just read what is out there generally for everyone, and also what is coming in directly to my inbox. I'll give you a chance to do the same. I don't know if you have any inquiries coming in to you directly. So I'll just read them out. So we have Oliver Wambua. Hello everyone, what percentage I think he meant, do we have, okay, basically he's inquiring like, what is the percentage of African students at RGU? Yeah, this is just fear of being alone, actually. Are there student clubs as well? That cater for this demographic? I think that's what Oliver wants to find out, please.
Okay, I don't know the percentage of African students overall. That's a good question, but I can tell you that our biggest areas that we recruit international students from, certainly, because our biggest population would be local students, of course, but our biggest international population would probably be Nigeria and Ghana, followed by Kenya after that. So in terms of African countries, we also have a good population of sort of Indian and Southeast Asia countries as well. But in terms of African student population, I can tell you that we currently have an African president of the Student Association, which is pretty cool, and also an African vice president because she is from Ghana. So that is really good to kind of to share with you. So African population are well represented on campus, although not necessarily from Kenya. There's a smaller population of Kenyan students at the moment. But just to let you know about that. So there are lots of societies. There is a African society. We have lots of international days where people come and share different culture, dress and food and stuff from around the world as well. But in terms of societies, yeah, absolutely. The different nationalities have them. But the video I was going to play you was Duni, who's from Nigeria, and she's joined the Malaysian Society and the Nigerian Society, and I think a couple of others, Singaporean Society, because she just thinks it's a really fun way to make friends. So I don't think they're particularly exclusive, but it is a great way to meet people from your home country, but also from other countries too. Just to jump to your next question as well, will you be entitled to the 2-year post-study work visa? Yes, absolutely. If you're coming to do a postgraduate, then you are entitled to 2 years post-study work visa. And recently we've been doing a project with some of the local companies that I talked about, those global companies, to help them understand how they can sponsor a student after they've finished the 2 years, because a lot of the companies are coming back to us to say, look, this graduate has been fantastic, but after the 2-year post-study work visa is over, how do we sponsor them if they want to stay? So we've been working with them on the paperwork they need to do that to sponsor the students to then stay on if they choose to. Obviously, you don't have to. But yes, that 2-year post-study work visa is guaranteed. And whilst you're studying, as I kind of mentioned at one point, whilst you're in term time, it's 20 hours a week that you're permitted to do a part-time job, and that's part of your visa requirement for the whole of the UK.
All right, fantastic. You've actually answered 3 of his questions directly. So that's nice. Thank you. We have George Omundi, who's asking, we already studied English. Do we have to do the English test? This is actually a very common question. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, thank you for that question, George. I get asked this a lot. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So we also study in English in Scotland, and yet we have to show high school as English as a subject, just to show that you have that understanding of speaking, presenting, reading, etc. at a significant level to come to university. So even home students who also study in English, just like yourselves, have to show English as a subject. So as I mentioned, we can take your Kenyan secondary certificate, just as we do for the Scottish students who take their secondary certificate. All we're asking is that you have a score in your English as a subject. So you need to have done English as part of that. So in some ways it's to prove your understanding of English as a second language, but in other ways it's to show that you have a good study level in English. So a good understanding as well of the subject of English, which is the same as what we would ask our home students to do. So I hope that is a bit more clear, because we do understand that you do study in English and that English is very widely spoken and well spoken there. But we do need to have some sort of evidence of that to move students forward.
All right, fantastic. Well put, actually. We have Hanan saying, do you support credit transfers and which courses? Why?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, we do, but it's probably more on a course by or sort of case by case basis. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that some students have come in with an HND as an advanced entry into an undergraduate course. We also have had students that have maybe started university at home or in another country or even in the UK, and they would like to take their credits that they've earned so far, but they haven't got an exit award, and transfer them into ours. So what I would say is that is possible. I wouldn't go into any more detail because it'd be easier if I just looked at what you've done. So maybe you could go through SIUK and we can support you separately in another conversation, but it would have to be the same subject. So if you've done accounting modules, for example, you would come into another accounting course. You wouldn't use that, excuse me, you wouldn't use that to access a completely different course, just to make sure that you are still on track.
All right, I hope that is clear. Yes, we are available to just give you guidance, Anand, on what transfers, credit transfer basically entails, how to do it. So reach out to us. You already have our contacts, but I will also be putting them in the chat just in case there's anyone new here who would also want that information as well. We have Claire says, awesome, past the presentation and seen that gives a flexible payment option. I think this was in regards to the fees, so yeah, it's nice. Thank you. Do applications for masters also require a UCAS?
No.
Yeah, this is actually also popular. Do you need to go through UCAS for your master's application? Julie, please.
No, actually, you don't need to go through UCAS at all for us. We're happy to take direct applications. So you might be talking about courses like social work, which have a UCAS, they're a postgraduate course, but they're accessed through UCAS. But I'm very happy to say that if you apply through SIUK, we're happy to take a direct application. You don't need to go through the UCAS process. I think UCAS is useful if you're going to apply to more than 2 UK universities, because it will help you kind of manage that. Otherwise, if you're just looking at us and another, for example, then I'm happy to take a direct application.
All right, fantastic. We have Steve Govwa, who's actually had me confused. I hope he's around. Maybe he can unmute his mic and just ask this directly. But he says, are the accommodations only available for on-campus, or is there an option for off-campus as well? And then just almost a minute later, he says, Woolman Hill, already chosen. So Steve, is this one you've already chosen that you've applied to, or is this something you're looking to apply to? If you're there, you can unmute your mic and ask. Steve? Okay. I don't think he's in a position, but I'll just ask the question. So are the accommodation options both on campus and off campus? And then similarly, there's a question also, I think it's from him as well. It goes, how do we book accommodation? Is it through the university or is it individual basis? Okay, I'll let you go at this first, Julie, before I give my opinion on it.
Of course, yeah. So the accommodation is booked through the accommodation team. So by all means, students that are in the process of their application can have a look at the accommodation options and make that decision. However, you can't book that until you've got to the CAS process. So you need to pay your deposit before you can formally book our accommodation. So Woman Hill, you might be saying is already chosen because I mentioned that was our cheapest option, and it's in the city centre. It's a great location for students. It's really in the heart of the city centre, so really well accessible and easy to get the bus, as I mentioned, to the campus. Also, the bill there includes your Wi-Fi, your heating, your water, electricity, everything. So if you are on a tight budget, or you want to be able to control the budget, it certainly does make sense to go through student accommodation, because all of that is part of the price. When you book privately, you still have to pay bills and so on, which can be quite stressful. So yeah, you book the accommodation through the university. Again, I think SI UK will be able to guide you on our webpage, which is just /accommodation. You can see all the different options, and that includes the private options as well as the university ones, everything that's there. Even if you want to rent a private apartment, all those options are listed for you there. It's nice and clear. There's a WhatsApp number if you have questions. There's phone number if you'd rather speak to someone. There's email. There's everything that you could possibly want in terms of communication. And then once you get to the deposit stage, then you can book the accommodation through a simple form on the webpage. Again, SI UK, I'm sure, will take you through that process because they're well versed in what we're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. That's true. We are available to do that. Free services as well. I believe all of you are aware. We would be glad, more than glad, to extend all the options available from RGU. And just in case you need assistance booking accommodation off campus as well, no pressure. This is part of the service. We will absolutely help you with this and make sure you are all settled and comfortable while joining and enrolling at Robert Model. Fantastic. We move on. We have Wangoi Gitimi, who wants to know what intakes are we looking at for this year, the available open dates.
Sorry, I missed that. Is that what intakes are open for this year? So we have. Yep.
You can just look at both, yeah.
Sure. We have September intake, which is our next intake. The deadlines are coming close to that. As I said, we're looking for students to have met their conditions, which means submitting all your documents and paid your deposit, so it's received at the university by the first week of July. So gosh, that's just 2 months to sort of get to that stage, but completely doable. If you're in a position to start university in September, then that is absolutely possible. The next option for the postgraduate courses would be in January, where we have a more limited offering for the courses that are available in January, but certainly some of the courses are available then. And then, of course, the following September. So we just run the postgraduates 2 times a year. Okay, shall I just keep going? There's one more question I can see there from Jane that says, what would you say is the average cost of living for a 1-year master's program? It's a really good question. On our website, again, we have like a budget calculator, which can make it a little bit more personal to you. So we kind of thought of all the things you might need, and you can kind of personalize that to sort of make yourself up a little budget and get an idea of what things cost. So that's a really good tool if you want to go and have a look at that. The UK VI says that students need to show £9,270, I believe it is, for living costs for 1 year. So that's to include all of your accommodation, your bills, your food, printing, anything, books, anything that you might want is all included in that. And that's what they recommend students outside of London should have access to. And to be honest with you, I think that is probably a fair amount for you to be able to live stress-free and have access to that money. So I think I would stick with that amount. I know some students don't necessarily have all of that in one go. You're working part-time hours, so working the 20 hours a week that I mentioned will definitely help you to top up, but I want to be honest with you that is definitely not 20 hours a week at roughly £10 an hour, so £200 is not going to be enough to live on, so you will need to have access to some other money as well.
All right, absolutely. I believe those should be the only questions also from my end as well. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us today. That was an amazing presentation. Actually, we even had what students, confirming an accommodation just through this presentation. So that's how we. That's wow. Thank you so much. For everyone else, thank you so much. If there was anything, thank you. If there was anything that was not clear during this session, we have it recorded. It will be going up on our YouTube soon, and you will all receive a link to that as well. So you can always come back for reference, just in case there was anything that wasn't clear. But if you need any extra information, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Can we get your contacts in the chat? Yes, absolutely, Teresa. Stand by for that. You can always reach out to us at SIUK. We have our offices in Nairobi and Mombasa. Please, you can reach out to us through 0784 999 997. I am having all that contact information in the chat as well. Or you can just drop us an email, nairobi@studyinuk.com, and Mombasa studyinuk.com as well. Julie, perhaps you can have your contacts in the chat as well for those who are asking.
Yes, absolutely. Do you want me just to add that just now?
Yes, that would be perfect.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed speaking to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. Have a good one.
You too. That's my email in there now, and my name is.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. When will you be coming to Kenya?
I'm hoping to come very soon, definitely in September, but it would be nice to be able to come out before that for maybe some pre-departures, but that is still to be confirmed.
Okay, absolutely. We will definitely shoot you an invite. Hopefully we will face-to-face by then.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Ciao.